D.C.'s top prosecutor announcing criminal charges against 16 people for what they're calling an armed criminal spree.
Police tonight believe this violent crime ring, as they called them, committed 9 armed robberies over the course of a year up and down the East Coast.
Trevor Anthony Wright may not be a name that you're familiar with, but Taliban Glizzy may be. He's a D.C. rapper who has now been sentenced to 219 months in jail. He stole about $3.2 million in jewelry. And you don't have to worry about Taliban Glizzy anymore, because he won't be around for a good 18 years.
October 25th, 2022, Paterson, New Jersey. The afternoon calm on Main Street is shattered by the crash of sledgehammers against glass. Inside Paradise Jewelry, masked thieves in dark hoodies and gloves swarm the store. Glass display cases explode, showering the floor in glittering shards as the men shovel fistfuls of 24-karat gold into laundry bags. In under a minute, they've snatched nearly $1.9 million in jewelry. A terrified employee cowers as one robber waves a pistol, barking orders. Just as swiftly as they came, the crew vanishes out the door, leaving behind wreckage and a buzzing silence. In the getaway car, Trevor Taliban Glizzy Wright waits with the engine running, adrenaline pounding in his ears. This was just another day's work for DC's so-called jewelry Heist Avengers, a brazen band of robbers led by a local rapper-turned-robbery kingpin. Trevor Wright, known on the streets and stage as Taliban Glizzy, grew up in the gritty enclaves of Washington, D.C. By his late teens and 20s, Wright was affiliated with Glizzy Gang, the same crew of popular D.C. rapper Shy Glizzy. He had a fledgling rap career, dropping his own projects like All I Had in 2022, and for a moment, it looked like music might be his ticket out of the streets. But rap clout didn't pay the bills the way Wright wanted. By 2021, as his music buzz plateaued, Trevor Wright had one foot in the recording booth and the other in the streets. When rap didn't pan out, Wright started orchestrating high-stakes armed robberies, assembling a crew from around the way. They ranged in age from early 20s to mid-30s, each with a street alias. Names like Ill Will, Twin, Los, Gino, and Lil Lonnie. Some already had run-ins with the law, but all were eager for the fast cash and flashy rewards that a successful heist could bring. In January 2022, Taliban Glizzy's crew kicked off an audacious crime spree that would span a year and a half and at least 4 states. They set their sights on a very specific target: family-run South Asian jewelry stores known for high-purity gold and cash on hand.
Graves says the group led by Trevor Wright, also known as Taliban Glizzy, targeted and robbed jewelry stores owned by Asian Americans. Now, when asked whether these were possible hate crimes, Graves said the stores were not targeted necessarily for the ethnicity or national origin of the owners, but rather the type of jewelry and gold that they thought would be there.
The crew knew that many of these jewelers kept their inventory in display cases by day, catering to customers seeking bridal sets and 24-karat heirlooms. To Wright's crew, they were glittering vaults waiting to be cracked open. Their first known hit came on January 7, 2022, at Yassini Jewelers in Falls Church, Virginia. Surveillance footage later revealed William Ill Will Hunter walking through Yassini's showroom, a tray piled with gold jewelry in one hand and a handgun in the other. They were methodical and unflinching.
Investigators say the group would meet in D.C., choosing the roles they'd each take on, the weapons they'd carry, either guns or hammers.
With military precision, the robbers hit Yassini Jewelers and vanished into the winter dusk, kicking off a crime spree across the eastern seaboard. After the success of their first heist, Taliban Glizzy's jewelry Heist Avengers hit the road, growing bolder with each job. They struck again on June 10, 2022, at Varani Jewelers in Eastland, New Jersey, escaping with about $1.2 million in gold.
I hit 8 people, they covered their faces, 2 cars, Mercedes, and there is no number on it.
No license plates, no nothing.
No license, no nothing.
By now, the crew had a playbook to minimize their risks. Getaway cars were carefully arranged, often rented under fake names or stolen outright, sometimes with phony or stolen license plates to throw off investigators. They always cased the target store in advance, noting camera placements and the routines of owners.
You see this yellow curb right here? This prevents most people from stopping here in front of the jewelry store. So a getaway driver can pull up here at almost any time. And then from this location, it's just 2 blocks down this street, a left-hand turn, and you're back on the freeway out of here. Store owners say that shows planning and experience.
As summer 2022 turned to fall, Taliban Glizzy's crew showed no signs of slowing. On October 25, 2022, they executed the Paradise jewelry robbery in Paterson, New Jersey, netting roughly $1.93 million as described earlier. Less than 2 months later, on December 6, 2022, they struck Kishek Jewelers in Jacksonville, Florida, cleaning out about $700,000 worth of jewelry. As the crew ramped up, the stakes and risks grew higher. By late 2022, Taliban Glizzy and his crew had robbed at least 9 jewelry stores in 4 states, accumulating millions. With so much gold and cash changing hands, the crew developed an exit strategy for their takes. In the back rooms of Miami's Jewelers District, they would unload distinctive pieces to crooked dealers. The bulk of the gold was taken to secretive metal shops and melted into unmarked gold bars that could be sold for quick cash. But by winter 2022, cracks were starting to appear in the Avengers' seemingly unstoppable run. Federal agents and local police had begun coordinating, comparing notes on similar smash and grabs hitting Asian-owned jewelry stores up and down the coast. They didn't yet have names for all the perpetrators, but an ATF task force was on the case, and undercover surveillance intensified around known DC crew hangouts. Wright himself had a close call in July of 2022, when an AR-15 rifle was recovered from the back seat of a rideshare vehicle he and some crew members had used. That incident tipped off authorities that heavy firepower was in play. Still, Taliban Glizzy slipped away that time, emboldening him to keep pushing. Then came December 22, 2022, a date that marked the beginning of the end for the jewelry Heist Avengers. That day, Wright's crew hit Chintamaniss Jewelry in Franklin Park, New Jersey. The robbery itself went as planned. Around $400,000 in 22-karat gold ripped from display cases. But as the crew fled into the winter night, their luck ran out. Speeding away, the getaway car lost control and crashed on a New Jersey roadway. In the chaos, one of Taliban Glizzy's men, 31-year-old Joshua Matthews, was killed in the wreck. The aftermath was carnage. Twisted metal, gold chains littering the back seat, sirens wailing in the distance. Matthews, a local DC rapper himself, had bet his life on the score and lost. His death was a turning point. As news of the crash reached the rest of the crew, a sense of dread set in. For the first time, the crew's bravado had a body count, and police on the scene of the crash seized evidence and identified their fallen accomplice. Investigators now had a solid lead, a suspect tied to the other robberies, and they began methodically unraveling the network. Unbeknownst to some of his crew, Taliban Glizzy was already in custody by then. 2 weeks earlier, on December 12, 2022, Trevor Wright and an entourage hit the town in Washington, D.C., partying at the upscale St. Eve nightclub. But the feds were one step behind him. Outside the club, agents quietly moved into position. Wright slid into the back seat of a black Cadillac Escalade, perhaps unaware that an outstanding federal warrant had been issued for his arrest in Florida for a prior firearms charge. As the SUV's doors closed, law enforcement swarmed. They yanked open the doors, guns drawn, and took Taliban Glizzy down on the sidewalk without a shot fired. In the Escalade, agents found over $17,300 in crumpled cash. Cash later confirmed to be loot from the Kishek Jewelers robbery a week before. The kingpin of the crew was caught, literally carrying the proceeds of his crimes as he tried to enjoy a night of freedom. With Wright and several others in custody and one crew member dead, the dominoes fell quickly. Over the next few months, investigators rounded up the remaining members of the robbery ring. By August 2023, the U.S. Attorney for D.C. announced a sweeping indictment charging 16 individuals, what remained of the Taliban Glizzy crew, with an array of federal crimes. The charges read like a checklist of the crew's deeds: conspiracy to interfere with interstate commerce by robbery, Hobbs Act, multiple counts of Hobbs Act armed robberies, using firearms in crimes of violence, carjacking conspiracy, and even money laundering for melting and selling stolen gold. Authorities marked the case as a major takedown of a violent interstate gang.
8 individuals were arrested in connection with the indictment this morning. Police say they recovered 7 firearms, including a suspected machine gun and approximately $300,000 from inside a safe.
8 crew members were arrested in synchronized raids around D.C. and Maryland, while the other half were already behind bars on other charges. One by one, Taliban Glizzy's co-conspirators folded in court, facing mountains of evidence, surveillance videos, DNA from dropped gloves, phone records pinging near robbery sites, and accomplice testimony. Most of the crew took plea deals. They stood before federal judges and admitted their roles in exchange for lighter sentences. In October 2024, Timothy Twin Conrad, one of Wright's lieutenants, was sentenced to 168 months, 14 years after pleading guilty, acknowledging his part in 4 robberies stretching from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania to Washington, D.C. Conrad even confessed that during one New Jersey heist, the crew's getaway crash led to their comrade's death, a sobering admission in court. Others followed. Ill Will drew 228 months, 19 years in prison. Robert Realifia Sheffield got 156 months. Davin Y.B. Johnson received 111 months. The judgments came down like a hammer. At least 15 members of the crew were convicted and sentenced by late 2025. The lone exception was a California man, Keith McDuffie, who allegedly helped the crew and was still facing trial. At the center of it all was Taliban Glizzy himself. Rather than roll the dice at trial and risk a decades-long sentence, Trevor Wright agreed to a plea deal in September 2025. In open court, he pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit Hobbs Act robbery, brandishing a firearm during a crime of violence, and unlawful possession of a firearm.